right, so get this. We're diving deep today into a world that I can only describe as if Tim Burton and Lemony Snicket got together and made a fantasy world.
That's one way to put it, yeah.
We're talking about Glomdom, everybody, and specifically the Kingdom of Ulster, right?
Right.
Our source material this time is a tabletop role-playing game guide. And let me tell you, it is chock full of details.
Oh, yeah.
It's creepy, it's kind of familiar, and just unsettling enough to make me want to keep reading. I think what I'm most excited for is how the mechanics themselves actually contribute to the whole like Gothic horror vibe.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So it's not just like a visual thing. It's like the rules of the world themselves lend themselves to the feeling of dread.
Totally. It's built into the fabric of the world.
Okay, so no sunshine and rainbows here.
No, not really.
Give me the lowdown.
All right, so Glomdom, this island kingdom, right, it's perpetually shrouded in this fog and gloom.
Right.
But it's not just aesthetically dreary, like the land itself is cursed.
Oh, wow.
And so this curse, like, permeates everything. It influences the weather, the people, even the way magic works.
Ugh, so we're not dealing with the Shire here.
No cheerful halflings in Glomdom.
Okay, so we're talking more Edgar Allan Poe than Tolkien.
Definitely.
Got it.
Yeah.
So, but what about the races then? Are we dealing with the usual fantasy suspects, or does Glomdom have some, like, surprises in store for us?
Oh, so definitely has some surprises.
Okay.
Let's start with the dwarves.
Okay.
They're not exactly the jovial, beer-loving kind that we're used to.
Right.
Instead, picture them as these grim survivors who are completely obsessed with endurance. And their craftsmanship even reflects this, with items being imbued with runes that actually bind fragments of their very souls.
Oh, wow.
So it's less about elaborate craftsmanship and more about this desperate struggle against decay.
Oh, so they're just trying to, like, hold on to something tangible in a world that's literally fallen apart around them.
Exactly.
That's so creepy. That's giving me serious Haunted Mansion vibes.
It is very Haunted Mansion-esque.
With everything slowly crumbling and the inhabitants just trying to keep things from falling apart.
Yeah, they know it's a losing battle, but they're fighting it anyway.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so what about halflings then?
Oh, the halflings.
Forget cozy hobbit holes.
Yeah, none of that here.
Yeah.
These halflings are defined by fear and superstition.
Oh, geez.
They cling to tradition, and they're absolutely terrified of the unknown.
Hmm.
It's almost like their entire culture is built around keeping the darkness at bay.
Right. Yeah.
Because they know that the peace that they have comes at a really steep price.
So instead of second breakfast, they're having second helpings of anxiety.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Wow. I can see how that fits with the whole Gothic atmosphere, constantly looking over your shoulder, waiting for the other shoe to drop.
That's Glomdom in a nutshell.
What about the other races? Any more subversions of our, like, classic fantasy tropes?
Definitely. Yeah, half-orcs, for example, they're not portrayed as mindless brutes, but instead as these misunderstood outcasts who are burdened by prejudice and really desperate to break free of those stereotypes that are imposed on them. Many of them are haunted by family secrets or curses and seeking redemption for sins they didn't commit.
So it's less about Orcish rage and more about the weight of societal expectations.
Yeah.
And just the struggle to define yourself when the world has already kind of pegged you.
Exactly. They're trying to find their own identity.
That's a really interesting take, and it definitely adds to the whole things are not what they seem kind of vibe.
For sure.
Okay, so what about the other races, though?
Well, the Dragonborn, for example,
Yeah.
They are feared because of their lineage.
Okay.
They carry this weight of a dark, nearly forgotten past, and they're always wary of succumbing to those whispers of their ancestors.
Oh, so instead of being like proud heirs to a powerful legacy,
Right.
they're like walking time bombs, constantly afraid of losing control.
Yeah, afraid of unleashing something terrible.
Oh my gosh, it's almost the opposite of the Chosen One narrative.
Totally, yeah. And then you have the Aasimar.
Oh, Aasimar, yeah.
Instead of radiating celestial light, they're plagued by disturbing visions and whispered prophecies.
No.
And their connection to the divine feels more like a curse than a blessing.
It does.
Imagine being constantly bombarded with glimpses of impending doom, never knowing if you can trust your own senses.
Talk about a downer. It's like their guardian angel is a gloomy goth with a penchant for bad news.
That's a good way to put it.
Okay, so what about Tabaxi? They always strike me as like mysterious and a little bit spooky.
Oh, in Glomdom, they're even more so.
Okay.
They are elusive figures constantly searching for lost pieces of their heritage in forbidden places. Their motives are often unclear.
Yeah.
The guide doesn't explicitly connect them to any specific Gothic tropes.
Okay.
But that sense of mystery and the pursuit of forbidden knowledge definitely fits the overall theme.
So they're like the shadowy librarians of Glomdom, hoarding secrets and lurking in the fog.
Exactly, yeah. Always watching, always listening.
Oh my gosh. I can already picture them with their glowing eyes and cryptic whispers.
Oh, for sure.
Okay, so we've covered the races, and it's clear that Glomdom is already shaping up to be a pretty bleak place.
It's not the happiest place.
But what about the magic system? Does it, like, play into this whole Gothic horror thing?
No, absolutely. One of the core mechanics actually revolves around death. Specifically undeath.
Okay.
Consecrated ground is required to prevent corpses from reanimating.
Okay.
But even that protection is temporary. It has to be renewed annually.
So you're telling me that even a proper burial isn't a guarantee of peace?
Nope. You've got to keep paying, keep your loved ones from coming back.
That's terrifying.
Yeah.
It's like the land itself is clinging to the dead, refusing to let them go.
That's a good way to look at it.
Oh my gosh. And to add like another layer of unease, the guide mentions these things called consecration coins.
Yes.
And they offer like personal protection from undeath, but they also expire. So can you imagine like the stress of constantly checking the expiration date on your soul's insurance policy?
It's a lot of pressure, for sure.
Wow, so death is a big deal in Glomdom.
It's a constant presence.
What about necromancers then? Do they have a role to play in all of this?
They do, but it's a really complicated one.
Okay.
Necromancy is practiced in Glomdom, but it comes with a hefty price. The land itself actively resists attempts to manipulate death.
Okay.
And it inflicts this unique curse on those who dabble in those dark arts.
So it's not just a moral dilemma.
Right.
It's a gameplay mechanic.
It is.
Okay, so what does this curse actually do?
It's called Glomdom's Wrath, and it manifests as a series of increasingly unsettling symptoms.
Oh, like what?
Like unsettling whispers that make it hard to focus.
Okay.
Developing this like chilling coldness that affects those around you. As it progresses, you're plagued by nightmares, your life force slowly draining away.
Oh my gosh.
Eventually you become physically marked. Your appearance changes, animals flee from you. It's a really visceral representation of those consequences of messing with the natural order.
Yeah, it's like the land itself is rejecting their magic, pushing back against those who try to control death.
Exactly, and the curse can be lifted,
Okay.
but it requires significant sacrifice.
Like what?
A necromancer has to completely abstain from using their powers.
Rogue.
They slowly shed the taint, point by point.
So they're choosing to weaken themselves.
Right, it's a constant temptation. Do they succumb to the curse's power, or do they resist it and potentially weaken themselves?
So it's a high-stakes gamble with no easy answers.
Yeah, a classic Gothic horror trope knowledge that comes at a terrible price.
Okay, so we've talked about death, necromancy, curses, but what about something a bit more environmental?
Okay.
The guide mentions this thing called the gloaming,
Yes, the gloaming.
and it sounds pretty intense.
It's intense.
So give it to me.
Okay, so imagine this periodic surge of dark energy that washes over the land, and it transforms random flora and fauna into monstrous versions of themselves.
So we're talking like giant rabid squirrels,
Potentially.
mutated flowers that spit poison.
Could be.
Like what kind of creatures are we dealing with here?
That's the terrifying part. It could be anything.
Oh my gosh.
That harmless field mouse could suddenly become this razor-toothed predator.
Right.
A beautiful songbird transformed into a screeching harbinger of doom.
Oh, that's creepy.
The unpredictability of it, all the way nature itself is corrupted.
Right.
It really underscores that Gothic horror vibe of Glomdom.
It's like Mother Nature is having a really bad day,
Right.
and everyone's just trying to stay out of her way.
Yeah, you could say that.
So we've got this cursed land, undead, lurking everywhere, and the environment itself is trying to kill you.
Pretty much.
Where do the people of Glomdom even live?
Well, there are cities,
Okay,
but they're far from havens of peace and tranquility.
right.
The capital city, Ulton, is described as this place of Gothic grandeur. Towering spires piercing the perpetual fog, cobblestone streets slick with rain, and a society where conversations about curses are as commonplace as discussing the weather.
Okay, I am starting to see the Tim Burton influence here.
It's definitely there.
But how do people function in a place like that? What are their social norms like?
Well, they've adapted to living with constant dread. Paranoia is considered polite
Okay.
Celebrations are deliberately understated.
Interesting.
And everyone has a story about a personal encounter with the supernatural.
So it's less about like screaming and running away and more about a sort of grim acceptance.
Exactly.
Like, oh, another ghost sighting. How perfectly dreadful.
Yeah, that's the general attitude.
You know, you're in a strange place when everyday greetings sound like they came straight out of a horror movie.
That's Glomdom for you.
It's like their whole culture is built around expecting the worst.
Right.
Hoping for the best.
Yeah.
But always being prepared for something spooky to happen.
Always prepared.
Okay, but you mentioned festivals earlier. What about the Haunting Eve? You said they celebrate their encounters with the supernatural.
Yes. The Haunting Eve, it's their way of acknowledging the darkness, even embracing it,
Okay.
but always with a sense of caution.
Right.
Imagine children dressed as ghosts, families gathering to share stories about their brushes with the supernatural.
So it's like Halloween, but with a distinctly Glomdom twist.
Exactly.
I'm picturing a very subdued Halloween party with ghost stories whispered instead of shouted, and maybe some cookies shaped like tombstones.
That's a pretty accurate picture.
What about other traditions? Anything that really highlights this blend of practicality and acceptance of the supernatural?
Well, they have this tradition called Ancestors' Watch,
Okay.
where families gather in their crypts every winter
Uh-huh.
to honor their dead and, make sure no one's come back with unfinished business.
Okay, that's both heartwarming and slightly terrifying.
It is a unique tradition.
It's like a family reunion, but with a side of potential zombie apocalypse.
Yeah, that's one way to put it.
Yeah. And it highlights another key aspect of Glomdom's culture.
What's that?
Their relationship with death. It's not something they shy away from. It's woven into the fabric of their society.
That's very true.
Remember those consecration coins we talked about?
Yes.
Imagine the economic and social implications of a system where you have to pay to keep your loved ones from coming back as undead.
It's a whole other layer of complexity to their world.
Right.
For sure.
So we've got these understated celebrations, cautious social interactions, and a healthy dose of death-related anxiety.
It's everyday life in Glomdom.
What do people do for fun in a place like Glomdom?
Well, Alton has its share of taverns and theaters,
Okay.
but even those have a certain darkness to them.
Right.
The plays might be tragedies, the songs filled with tales of woe and loss. And the taverns, well, imagine a place where the drinks are strong.
Okay.
The clientele is a mix of the desperate and the curious.
Right.
And the whispers in the corner booth might be about the latest ghost sighting or a deal with a shadowy entity.
So it's less about letting loose and more about finding a temporary escape from the ever-present dread.
Exactly.
It's like the whole city is operating on a low hum of anxiety
Yeah.
with bursts of excitement that are tinged with a sort of morbid curiosity.
That's a good way to describe it.
But they're also like glimmers of beauty and wonder in Glomdom.
There are.
Even in the midst of all the gloom,
Yes.
the guide mentions a place called Vision Park,
Yes. Vision Park.
which is beautiful during the day, but becomes a popular spot for ghost walking after sunset.
It does.
It's a place where the veil between the worlds is thin, where you might catch a glimpse of something extraordinary
Right.
or something terrifying.
It's a risk people are willing to take.
So it's like a haunted park, but people go there for the thrill of it.
Yeah, like a Gothic version of Disneyland.
It's a reminder that even in a world steeped in darkness, people still seek out beauty and connection.
I do.
They just do it in a way that reflects their unique worldview. Okay, we've talked about the social customs, the traditions, the ways people find escape in Alton. But what about the city itself? What are some of the key locations that players might encounter?
Well, the guide breaks down the city into these distinct districts,
Okay.
each with its own flavor and function.
Okay, give me an example.
Okay, so for example, there's Vulturegate.
Uh-huh.
That's the financial district where money changers and merchants haggle over prices,
Okay.
while keeping a wary eye out for cursed coins and deals that are too good to be true.
It sounds like a place where greed and paranoia go hand in hand.
They definitely do.
What about a place where players might be able to gather information,
Okay.
like a tavern or a marketplace?
For that, you'd want to visit Black Star.
Okay.
The entertainment district, think taverns, gambling dens,
Right.
and a vibrant mix of races and personalities.
Okay.
It's the kind of place where rumors flow freely, secrets are bought and sold.
Right.
And you might just overhear something useful if you know who to ask.
So it's the shady underbelly of Alton, where the line between entertainment and danger is blurred.
Exactly.
I'm already picturing a smoky tavern with a bard singing cryptic songs and a tabaxi lurking in the corner booth.
Sounds about right.
What about somewhere more scholarly?
Okay.
Is there like a library or a university in Alton?
Yes, there's Ulster University.
Okay.
which is located in a district called University Row.
Uh-huh.
It's a place of learning, but also a potential source of danger.
Oh.
The guide mentions whispers of forbidden knowledge being pursued in its shadowy halls, experiments that might have unintended consequences.
So it's Hogwarts, but with a darker, more Gothic edge.
That's a good way to put it.
I could already imagine dusty tomes filled with forbidden lore and professors who are a little too obsessed with their research.
It wouldn't be a Gothic setting without a little forbidden knowledge.
Okay, what about somewhere that really embodies this blend of practicality and the supernatural?
All right.
You mentioned that the castle has security features for both physical and spiritual threats. But does that extend to the city itself?
Oh, definitely. The guide mentions a network of underground tunnels beneath Ulton. Originally built for sewage and water management,
Okay.
but now used for all sorts of purposes, both legal and illicit.
Oh.
Imagine smugglers moving goods under the cover of darkness,
Right.
secret societies holding clandestine meetings, and perhaps even creatures of the night using these tunnels to infiltrate the city unseen.
So it's like a hidden world beneath the city, a labyrinth of shadows and secrets.
It is.
It's giving me serious Phantom of the Opera vibes, with masked figures lurking in the darkness and the sound of dripping water echoing through the tunnels.
I can see that.
Okay, I think we've covered a lot of ground here. We've got a pretty good sense of what Ulton is like, its atmosphere, its social customs, and some of its key locations.
We've got a good foundation.
But let's shift gears a bit and talk about the adventure itself.
Okay.
We know it's called Fall of the House of Ulster.
We do.
And we know there's this mysterious Evelyn character involved.
Right.
But what about the specifics? What kind of story are we dealing with here?
Well, remember, we're trying to avoid spoilers.
Right, of course.
But I can tell you that the adventure is structured around a series of mysteries and challenges,
Okay.
each one designed to draw the players deeper into the heart of Glomdom's darkness.
Okay, that's vague but intriguing.
It is.
Can you give me an example? What kind of mysteries might the players encounter?
Well, the guide offers several story hooks,
Okay.
little seeds of intrigue that can be developed into full-blown plot lines.
Okay, I like it. I like it.
For example, there's The Ghost Artist,
Okay.
a tale set in Vision Park, where these eerie paintings appear overnight,
Okay.
depicting moments from Ulton's history that were never recorded.
Interesting.
Some say that the artist is a vengeful spirit, using his spectral talents to expose secrets the nobles would rather keep buried.
So it's not just spooky art. It's like a supernatural history lesson
It is.
with a side of political intrigue.
It is.
I can see how that would appeal to players who enjoy uncovering hidden truths and challenging the established order.
Definitely.
Okay, what else you got?
Okay, how about The Missing Mourners?
The Missing Mourners.
A mystery that plays directly into Glomdom's obsession with death and the rituals surrounding it.
Right.
Imagine professional mourners
Okay.
from numerous funerals vanishing after their performances,
Oh.
leaving Ulton's noble families unable to properly display their grief at these upcoming ceremonies.
Okay, now that's creepy. It's like a morbid talent show with a supernatural twist.
It is.
What happened to them? Did they run away? Were they kidnapped?
That's the mystery, isn't it?
It is.
As the players investigate, they might discover that the missing mourners all performed at ceremonies in a specific cemetery,
Okay.
or that they shared a unique talent for expressing sorrow.
Interesting.
Maybe they caught the attention of a powerful entity who collects expressions of genuine grief.
Oh, wow.
Or maybe there's a more mundane but equally sinister explanation at play.
Oh, both options are intriguing. It's like a choose-your-own-adventure for Gothic horror fans.
It is.
Okay, I'm starting to see how these story hooks work.
Yeah.
They take a seemingly mundane situation and inject it with just enough Gothic horror and intrigue to make it compelling.
Exactly.
It's like the whole city is built on a foundation of secrets and whispers.
It is.
Okay, what other examples does the guide offer?
Well, there's the Dwarven Dispute,
Okay, the Dwarven Dispute.
which on the surface seems like a simple rivalry between two master smiths.
Okay.
But as the players delve deeper,
Yeah.
they discover this hidden connection between the smiths' supposedly unique forging techniques,
Okay.
both originating from this mysterious figure who offered knowledge in exchange for services that have yet to be collected.
Okay, now we're talking, it's not just a petty rivalry.
Right.
It's a deal with the Devil Glomdom style.
It is.
I love how these story hooks hint at a deeper, darker layer beneath the surface of everyday life.
It's all connected.
Okay, I'm sold. These story hooks are fantastic, and I can already see how they draw players into the world and make them want to unravel its mysteries.
They're definitely compelling.
But what about the characters they'll encounter along the way?
Well, let's save that for next time.
Oh, come on.
We've got to keep some surprises.
Ugh, okay, fine, but the suspense is killing me.
I know, but trust me, it'll be worth the wait.
Okay, fine, but you better deliver.
I will.
All right, listeners, we're going to leave you hanging there for now.
For now.
But make sure to tune in next time as we delve deeper into the heart of Glomdom and uncover the secrets of the fall of the House of Ulster.